before we start the questions, Prajan would like to address certain topics because there's been some practitioners here who have been practicing in other styles of practice before coming here. And when they come here, they come to Prajan to ask for advice on certain obstacles that they have encountered in their own practice. He would like to address this topic that he would not want to intrude other teachers' method of practice and fix your problems that have been accumulated from other practices. With respect, Prajan would like to not engage with those types of fixation on those problems because each method of practice has its own emphasis on how the practice is being taught, and it leads to the same goal. But during the path, there are different ways of practicing that should not be mixed. If you come to ask Prajan for advice, he can give advice to fix your problems, but then it would shift into Hluang Pu Man's method of practice, which could be different from what you have been practicing. Maybe you can translate this portion first. To give an example, when we practice in this method, we use the recitation of Bhutto to kind of settle the mind and get into deeper jhanas from the first jhana to the fourth jhana. This is the style of practice that is being taught here. But if you compare this to Mahasi Sayadaw's method, where they use the body as the base for their practice and focus on developing awareness by opening the six ayatanas, the six sense faculties, and whenever you perceive any perception through the six senses, just to be aware of the senses and put the word and then use noting towards those perception. And these two styles of practice has a different emphasis on how much concentration needs to be accumulated. In Mahasi Sayadaw's method, you only require Kanika Samadhi for the practice, and they would not want the mind to totally come into deep concentration, but they need this momentary concentration and still open up to perceive the sense faculties. But for this method, in Hluang Pu Man's method that Hluang Po Riyang is teaching, we are aiming to go to a deeper state of samadhi. We need to follow through to the Upajjara Samadhi. And so these two types of samadhi and how we engage with the practice is very different. So this is why one style of advice would kind of contradict another style of advice. So this is why Prajan said, with respect, he would rather not fix the problems that you have encountered from other ways of practice. Because actually, he can give advice, but then it will turn into the advice from this style of practice, which would bring you to a different experience. So this is his main advice. But he would want to conclude that although the different styles of practice is being taught, eventually it will lead to the same result, the same devotee flavor. So there's three questions. So we only go through the first question first. So the first question is from some of our new monks. It's the question about two different words. One is mututa, and another one is mutita. Are they the same or are they different? This word is come from the four Brahma Viharas: Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha. And this word, in the old days, Hluang Po Riyang would use the word Mututa, but some in the Brahma Vihara is usually used the word Mudita. So they ask whether these two words are different. Prajan's answer is actually these two words have two different meanings. Mututa means the gentleness quality of the mind. But mudita, from the Brahma Vihara, it means appreciation in other people's success, for example. So these two actually have two different meanings. But these two words, in the old days, in Hluang Po Riyang's time, these two words were used interchangeably. So in those times, in Brahma Vihara, they would use the word Metta, Karuna, Mututa, Upekkha. So this is why when Hluang Paul Riyan talk about the four Brahma Viharas, he would use the word mututta, which means the gentleness of the mind. But in our generation, the word is now usually used as mudita, which means appreciation. So these two have different meaning, but it's being used in the same context in the old days. So Prajan expanded a little bit more that before we do our practice, we would use certain phrases to set our intention. When we say we recollect the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, we recollect the qualities of our father and mother, we recollect the qualities of our teachers. So these, the intention before we start the practice, this is coming from Hluang Pu Koma. Hluang Pu Koma taught this to Hluang Paul Riyan. But before we do the practice, we also said we recollect Buddha, Dhammo, Sangho, and we recollect Buddha. This second group actually comes from Hluang Pu Man advice to Hluang Paul Riyan. So when we do our practice, we actually start by setting the intention from Hluang Pu Koma's teachings and also from Hluang Pu Man's teaching before we start our practice. So this is what we do before we practice every session. So the second part of the question relates to the two different words of mututta and mudita. The question is when we go out to the world again and they teach this method, when you which word should be used? Should we use mututta or mudita in the recitation? So the answer is in all the courses. Usually, Hluang Paul would want you to use the word mututta, which means the gentleness quality of the mind. This comes about because some of the staff in the institute actually asked Hluang Paul Riyan, so which one should we use, mututta or mudita? And Hluang Paul answered them by choosing that from now on, I want you to use the word mututta, which means the gentleness of the mind when you do this recitation. And this is because Hluang Paul wants to emphasize that the practitioner needs to have this humbleness or gentleness quality towards themselves. Because when someone practices a lot of meditation and they start to gain these meditative experiences, usually the mind will become more arrogant. It can lead to becoming more arrogant or more stiff. So this is Hluang Paul's advice to everyone who practices, that you should always try to be humble. So he reminds us by using the word mututta when we do this recitation before each practice. But for the course that we are doing here in Kurusa Samadhi course for the months especially for this course, Hluang Paul used the word mudita. So in this course, following Hluang Paul's advice, is the only course that we will use the word mudita in our recitation. In all other courses, we use the word mututta. So only here we use the word mudita, which means appreciation. Okay? And Prajan also would like to add that when you finish this Kurusa Samadhi course here, when you go out from this course and you teach others about the practice that you learn here, please don't use the word that don't tell them that you are teaching Kurusa Samadhi. Because Kurusa Samadhi only refers to the 49 days course that Hluang Paul designed to teach the monks. Apart from that, when you go out to the world and you teach others the meditation that you learn here, you can only use the word you are teaching meditation, not Kurusa Samadhi, because this is a specific word that used for this 49 days course only. The question is concerning the walking meditation. So the question is, when I do my walking meditation, I start with placing my attention on the location point, either the forehead, the heart, or the belly, and then I start to recite Buddha. But when I walk, there's a lot of thoughts that come into my mind, and I was not able to be at the base of my focus. What should I do? So Prajan's answer is, when your mind wanders a lot and cannot stay with the location point, first of all, don't start by walking right away when you start your walking meditation. First, stand still and start by doing meditation with the posture of standing first. And you start by standing and prepare both your body and your mind. One thing that you can do is, the advice that Paul gave is to recollect death. The method is to send your mind out as far as you can and try to observe the surrounding, the open space, and to see and recollect that there is no place in anywhere that there has not been a death period, and you have died countless of times in every place that you can place a needle into ground. Every place you have died before. So recollect the death that has been accumulated throughout many lifetimes in the past, and then bring that recollection of death back to your consciousness, that this is why you're here, and this is why this practice is necessary. But this is not actually a vipassana practice yet. It's just to calm the mind and to know that death is evident. And Prajan's advice is, do this, but don't do it too long, not more than 5 minutes, and then start your practice. Don't go too deep into contemplation of death. After no more than 5 minutes, then you start your practice of walking meditation. First, you start by placing your attention on your location point and to observe whether your observation or your awareness is clear or not. After your awareness is clear on your location point, then you start your mental recitation. So you know the location point clearly, then you start your mental recitation, then after that, then you start to do your walk. Because if you don't put your attention on your location point and start your recitation first, usually your mind will be drifted away with thoughts automatically. So this is what you need to do first. And when you do your walk, you tell yourself that your intention is that you would want to walk the whole path that you intended to the end of your path without losing your awareness to the end, to where you turn when you do your turn. So you try to focus your attention on throughout the whole path. And when you turn, you let go of your recitation and you let go of your location point. Then you do your turn. After you turn around, then you recollect your location point, and then you start to recite Bhutto again. Then you start your walk again. And you do this repeatedly for the whole duration of the 30 minutes that you are doing your walking meditation. You do this focusing on yourself. Don't put your attention on anybody else outside. And when you do this, it will help you to be able to be firm in your walking when you do the walking meditation.
So the third question is an experience of our practitioner. He said that when after walking meditation and sitting meditation, he found that he felt like he was gone for a short period of time. After walking meditation and come to sit, he felt like he was gone for a short period of time, but actually it was a long stretch of time, almost 30 minutes. But at that time, he felt like it was the quality of no vision, no sound, no thoughts in the mind, and it felt like the surrounding turned into like white fog. You know fog? White fog, like white clouds in the mind. And it felt like similar to when he was walking and felt the disappearance of a sense of self when he was walking. So he's asking that, what is this state? Is it a quality of samadhi, or is it a quality of dropping into bhavanga? So for this, Prajan answer is this is a sign of the accumulation of samadhi, not dropping into pavanka. Because when you drop into pavanka, it has this quality of just shutting down. You're not knowing anything. But for this explanation of the experience, this person still have the knowingness that there's no sight, there's no sound, there's clarity, there's the quality of like white fog having around. So there are still certain feeling or still awareness of what is happening. So this is a sign that is the quality of samadhi. So just maybe this part first. So sometimes this state of samadhi can happen during your walking meditation. And usually when you have this state, you feel like you want to go and sit down and go do your sitting meditation. And you want to skip the mental recitation. Prajan's advice and Hluangพ่อ Very Young's advice is do not skip the mental recitation when you start to do your sitting meditation. Every time that you shift from walking to sitting, always come back to start with the mental recitation of Buddha first before allowing it to disperse or let go afterwards. This is always important to do. The example is like when the Buddha about to go to his parinirvana, the Buddha didn't just go into the deeper states of samadhi. The Buddha also depicted this, starting off with going into the first jhana, then the second and the third, then the fourth. And this is a sign that the Buddha also came back to doing some kind of mental recitation before going into deeper samadhi. So this is what Hluangพ่อalways emphasized. It's like the mental recitation is like the key to go into your house, to go into your bedroom. So in order for you to access these inner states of mind, you need to start by using this mental recitation as the key to go deeper. And Ajahn also added that when you encounter this state of stillness, of no visions, no sight, no sound, and this clarity of mind, this state of samadhi is actually a result of the accumulation of the mental power of the mind. But it is a quality that is using this mental quality of the mind. And it's also the same as when you get into arupa jhanas. There's rupa jhanas, which is the first 4 jhanas, and then there's also arupa jhanas, the formless jhana. And Hluangพ่อwould always emphasize that the formless jhana is not the type of concentration that we are aiming for. Hluangพ่อwould say that arupa jhanas, the formless jhanas, are miccha samadhi, not samma samadhi. It is not what we are aiming for, and it's not to be used in vipassana. The samadhi that we are aiming for is only the rupa jhanas, the first 4 jhanas. And Prajan emphasized the difference when you have one-pointedness or ekakata citta. That is the quality of the mind where the mind is one-pointedness, has this quality of one-pointed awareness. And when the mind has this ekakata citta quality, this is when the mind is creating mental power. But when the mind is in the state of bliss, of happiness, or in a state of these arupa jhanas, when all of these experiences happen, is the time when the mind is using this mental power. So there's a difference between creating mental power and using mental power. When you're creating mental power, it comes from the quality of ekakata citta. So whenever you are able to have this one-pointedness of awareness, this is the time when the mind accumulates or creates mental power. But when the mind is having experiences of bliss, of happiness, or even dropping into arupa jhanas, these are when the mind is using mental power. So whenever you are accumulated, have one-pointedness, that is when the mind is creating power. So when you do your mental recitation, and when the mind is more stable and it becomes ekakata, and it becomes stable, Prajan advised that you apart from just going into that state, he wants you to also use your observation to see how the mind gets into that state. What happens before that state actually happens? So using this is like kind of using yoniso manasikara to observe the process of how this stability of mind happens and what happens during this quality accumulating, not just dropping into that quality without knowing. So this is what he also advised you do. So what Prajan emphasized is that what we want to accumulate is the quality of ekakata citta, and that is when mental power is accumulated. But when you get into this state, also be aware of the process of how you get into that state. And when you get into that state often and you observe the process often, then you become good at it. It creates vasi. It becomes proficient in getting into that state. And this is what we want to train ourselves into. Prajan also pointed out another topic is that when you have experiences of bright light or foggy in the mind or even happiness or rapture, these experiences that happen is actually, Prajan used the word, is actually the shadow of the mind. It's not the actual mind itself. So whenever you have these experiences happen, just notice it and let it go. You don't have to grab onto it. Don't cling on to these experiences, which are just different states of emotion that happens. So in the process of getting into the actual state of the mind, whenever you let go of all of these emotions that is blocking, then you start to see the shadow of the mind. When you witness the shadow of the mind, you have to turn around and actually observe back at the mind itself, then you would see the mind. So let go of these experiences and turn around and observe the actual mind, then you would see the mind itself.
We have to see the observer.
Yeah.
Who is the consciousness as
Yeah, you have to let go of the experiences. The experiences, Prajan call it, actually the shadow of the mind. It's not the actual mind itself. You have to let it go and then turn around and observe the actual mind itself. Yes. So Prajan would like to add, especially for our Indian Pantes, or also to our nuns who are also joining us in this course from abroad, that if you have any doubts or any question, please write it down and ask Prajan. You don't have to worry whether it's only a minor misunderstanding. It's okay to ask, even because sometimes these minor points actually has an effect on your practice. So don't overlook any minor points. If you have anything you want to ask, please ask. And Prajan is very happy to answer your questions, and he feel like this is what is the intention of Hluangพ่อ Very Young, and whatever benefit or any support that he can provide on your journey out of samsara, he is very happy to do so, and this is the wish of Hluangพ่อ Very Young, that he want to offer this to everyone. So please don't hesitate to ask your questions, and I'm sure that it would be beneficial for you and also everyone here as well to share any doubts. And so during these 49 days, we have a long time to stay here together, but maybe not all of us would make it to the 49 days. Who knows when anyone's going to pass. So please provide your questions and don't leave it aside.